AWD, they would take them and they'd say, what were we doing this week? I know, run them on the moors. They haven't been the moors for months. Next week, we'll run them on the roads. This week, they've not been the roads for ages. Third week, I know what we'll do with them this week, run them on the sand. They've not been in the sand for ages. Shanks used to say, sand. The next time they build a sandhill on a pitch, we'll bloody train on one.
They called him Crazy Horse. A fearless warrior on the pitch, he inspired a generation, but beneath the bravado, a complex man wrestled with demons. How did the darling of Anfield end up in the dock? Many questions were left unanswered. Let's tackle the conundrum that is Emlyn Hughes. Emlyn Walter Hughes, OBE. Born on 28th of August 1947 in the industrial town of Barrow-in-Furness, young Emlyn was the son of Fred Hughes, a notable rugby league footballer who played for Great Britain, Wales, Barrow and Workington Town. Here's a twist for you. Despite his family's sporting pedigree, young Emlyn was initially turned away by his local side, Barrow. But he didn't let that knock him down. Instead, he joined Blackpool, a First Division side in 1964. Just a lad back then, he made his debut playing alongside football legends like Jimmy Armfield and Alan Ball. He started out as an inside forward, but soon found his groove at left half. It was clear early on that Emlyn was something special. Now let's fast forward to February 1967. Liverpool's legendary manager, Bill Shankly, spotted Emlyn's potential and snapped him up for $65,000. Adjusted for today, that's a whopping $1.49 million. On 4th of March 1967, Hughes made his Liverpool debut in a 2-1 victory over Stoke City at Anfield. A few months later, on 26th of August, he scored his first goal in a 6-0 thrashing of Newcastle United. So, why the nickname Crazy Horse? Well, during a game against Newcastle, Emlyn launched into an illegal rugby tackle on winger Albert Bennett. It wasn't pretty, but it was the kind of move that got him noticed, and thus, Crazy Horse was born. But Crazy Horse had his fair share of legal troubles off the pitch, and one night, instead of celebrating, he was spending a night in court. Make sure to like and subscribe, and now back to the video. Crazy Horse, after retirement, wasn't always smooth sailing for one with such immense talent. In fact, with the shrug of his shoulders, former England and Liverpool captain Emlyn Hughes found himself in a very sticky situation. The occasion was no less than his 55th birthday, but instead of revelling in celebrations, he was in a position where he faced the music in York Magistrates Court. The charge? Drink driving. A far cry from his days of glory, wouldn't you say? So what happened? After a day at York races where he held an after-dinner speech, Hughes was stopped by the police as he drove away. Now, Hughes was no stranger to the limelight, but this wasn't the kind of attention he'd have wanted. Pleading guilty to drink driving, he was handed a 12-month driving ban and fined $400. But here's the irony. Emlyn was disgusted with himself. "I am absolutely disgusted with what I did. I abhor drink drivers," he said after the hearing. Tough words from a man noted for his spirited antics. By way of explanation, his solicitor, Stephen Winehouse, painted a somewhat different picture of Hughes. In his eyes, Emlyn believed his brother was having a medical emergency when he decided to drive. He thought he was just going to drive 10 or 20 yards along Campleshon Road to his hotel, a short distance, but enough to land him in hot water. The chairman of the bench, Dr. Peter Hogarth, accompanied by 2 other justices, pronounced to Hughes his grave sentencing. He got far less, fined $400 plus $55 in court costs. Such are the circumstances, and barely a few meters driven. The fine was initially set at $600, but was reduced for mitigating factors. So what happened here? Hughes had made a speech and afterwards spent part of the afternoon in a hospitality suite. He intended to walk to his hotel or get a taxi, but when his brother, who, since suffering a stroke in 1997, was in poor health, started to feel ill suddenly, Hughes thought that it was an emergency. He grabbed his friend's car, thinking there was a route over the racecourse to the hotel without hitting a public road. Unfortunately, he was wrong, and what could have been just a short drive turned into a legal headache. Hughes had never been convicted of any drink-driving offences before, although there was a conviction for speeding on his record. And to put things into perspective, Hughes covered between 75,000 and 100,000 miles annually in his various pursuits as a radio speaker, after-dinner speaker, and charity worker. Not a bad workload for a man ostensibly in retirement from professional football. Those early years at Liverpool were tough. No sign of silverware in those days, but Emlyn was establishing himself as a real star. He developed into the utility player Shankly had seen for the future, finding himself at left-back and central defence as and when the team needed him. This attribute was to attract the attention of England manager Alf Ramsey, and Emlyn won his first cap in 1969. 5th of November 1969, the Olympic Stadium in Amsterdam, England versus the Netherlands. Hughes at left-back, helping to secure a 1-0 win for England. A good start, but there was more to come. In 1972, he struck his only international goal against Wales, one of 3 that helped England register a 3-0 success in the British Home Championship at Ninian Park. But what was it that truly made Emlyn special? Was it his playing style, fearlessly going into every challenge he met head-on, or was it his adaptability on the pitch and nature that made a positive impact on both teammates and supporters equally? One thing is for certain, you could never discount Emlyn Hughes. Emlyn Hughes, more endearingly known as Crazy Horse, passed away on November 9, 2004, due to a brain tumour, aged merely 57. He fought this horrid little bleeder for 15 months, but gave up the battle at home in Sheffield, surrounded by his family. His wife, Barbara, stated that the last few days had seen his condition worsen. Just a day after playing in a charity match, he collapsed with awful head pains. The docs diagnosed a very nasty brain tumour. From there, it was a relentless battle with chemo. By the end, the vibrant Crazy Horse was nearly immobile, his vision fading, a cruel twist of fate for someone who never missed a day of training in his prime. Let's go back a bit. Emlyn Hughes was no ordinary footballer. He was a force of nature. Nicknamed Crazy Horse for his fearless, close to reckless style, he careered around the field like he had a point to prove, and prove it he did. He could boastfully amass 2 European Cups, 5 League Championships, an FA Cup, and even the crowning accolade of Footballer of the Year. And here's the kicker, he never missed a single day of training, not one. Hughes in his pomp, sporting the Liverbird badge with limitless zeal and relentless vigour. His old teammate Ray Clements described it as a very sad day and that one of the greats of a great Liverpool side is no longer with us. Chief Executive of Liverpool Rick Parry sent deepest sympathies to Hughes's wife Barbara, his children Emma and Emlyn Jr. and the rest of the family. Their spokesman paid glowing tribute to the 100% effort Hughes had given to the cause and his relentless passion for Liverpool FC. But Hughes's story began long before he donned the Liverpool red. He was pioneering from Barrow-in-Furness in 1947, where his father had been a professional rugby league player. Football was in his blood. He started at Blackpool before Bill Shankly took note of the raw talent and recruited him in 1967 for Liverpool. For the next 12 years, Hughes played 657 games for the Reds. Just think, 657 games, really epitomising the strength of pure passion and skill. Internationally, Hughes did not fall very much behind. He gained 62 caps for England, and 23 of these were as captain of the team. The last match he played for his country was in 1980. His journey did not end here, though. Hughes crossed over to Wolves in 1979 and helped them clinch victory for the League Cup the very next year. In the same year, he was given an award for OBE for his services to sport, truly an acknowledgement of the effect he had both on and off the field. After leaving Liverpool, he had brief stints as player-manager with Rotherham and as a player with Hull, Mansfield and Swansea before cutting his playing career short in 1984. Yet Hughes was not one to hide his light under a bushel. He developed a fresh following and a different type of fame with A Question of Sport. With that inimitable voice and infectious laugh, he became a favourite television character, trying to win the hearts of a totally different generation of fans. One of the most marked moments of the show was when Princess Anne was on his team. Typically, Hughes, he abided by no royal protocol and embraced the princess after she gave a correct answer. Weeks later, in true Crazy Horse style, he was to mistake a photograph of the princess and believed it to be jockey John Reed. Before that, I was a footballer maybe 15% of people knew. After it, 99.9% of people knew me. It was innocently done, he would later say. Ah, Emlyn, what a performer. In later life, Hughes developed his own passion for the racetrack, co-owning a Grand National runner. His racing colours, well, they were all a testament to his footballing roots: Liverpool red, Blackpool tangerine, Wolves gold, and the white of the England football. That's it for this one. If you're a fan of sport icons, make sure to check out our latest one on Gary Speed. I'm sure you'll love it.